Okay, so it's been almost 6 months to the day that I've been using the Nothing Phone 3 on a daily basis as my main phone. I left my Google Pixel for this thing, so I thought it was a good time to do a 6-month kind of review of my experience with it, especially considering I've just moved to testing out a Samsung for the first time. I've never used one before, so that's been a very interesting comparison. And over the last few months, I've really developed quite a few thoughts on this phone, both good and bad. Now first, why did I leave my Google Pixel? I actually sold my Google Pixel in favor of the Nothing Phone 3, and there's kind of a few main reasons. Number one, this phone actually felt snappier. I know there was a lot of discussion when it first came out that this wasn't a true flagship because of the processor and all that kind of stuff. In my experience, 100% qualifies as a true flagship phone. I found it to be super snappy, and honestly, I would say faster than the Google Pixel 9 Pro. That's the one that I had. Plus, this had more storage, sort of tipped over the edge for me. This had 512, whereas my Pixel had 256. And then the last reason why I actually preferred this was because it was a less distracting phone. And I wasn't sure if that was a little bit of a gimmick, you know, I thought maybe over time this would become just as distracting as my Google Pixel. But I did find it less distracting, partly just how I set it up myself and partly the design, but I'll get a bit more into that as we go through this discussion. So I want to start out by talking about some of the good things that I really like about this phone. And number one, honestly, my favorite thing about this phone by far is the design and the aesthetic. Again, at the time when it first came out, it was quite controversial. Some people absolutely loved it. Some people seem to absolutely hate it. I was one of the people who really loved it, and mainly because there's just nothing like it out there. It's unique, it's interesting. To me, it kind of looks like what an iPhone would be if iPhones weren't boring. And to be honest, I still really hate the design of Samsung phones. I'm not a big fan of square edges, and it's just boring. Like, it's a cool color, but it's just boring. Whereas this, it's just interesting. There's so many cool things going on. I like the asymmetry of it, and it feels premium. Like, it doesn't feel like a cheap phone at all. And honestly, it just really won me over. Now, when it comes to the little glyph display on the back, aesthetically, I think it also looks really nice. It's nice having the time displayed there or notifications that pop up, but I'll get a bit more into whether or not I think there was actually a useful, like, functional feature. But in terms of aesthetics, I think it really added to the overall look. Now, the next main thing that I've really liked about the Nothing Phone 3 is Nothing OS. And honestly, it's really interesting now going again to the Samsung, which is a totally different UI, considering, again, I originally used iPhone for 10 years and then moved to Android. So this was technically my second Android operating system after Google. I really like that it feels simple. It feels like distraction free. It feels bloatware free. It doesn't feel cluttered and convoluted. Now, interestingly enough, since starting to use Samsung, I have realized that it doesn't have as many features as maybe some other phones, but that could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're after. I think for me at the time, it was a good thing. It was nice having something that was less complicated, more straightforward, and it feels kind of more like a light operating system, if you will, which again could be good or bad, depends what you want from your phone. And as I said, the whole UI just feels very snappy, very fast. I've sped it up using developer options, so it's even snappier. So thanks to you guys in the comments for pointing that out to me, but I've been really satisfied with the operating system. Now, the last thing that I really liked about this phone was that it felt like an iPhone. And again, that's coming from someone who was very familiar and was a big Apple fanboy for the last decade. I've always used iPhone pretty much. So I did like that it didn't feel too foreign. It felt comfortable, you know, as someone coming from iPhone. And so I think if you are coming from iPhone, the way I kind of perceived it was maybe Nothing Phone and the Google Pixel felt the most like an iPhone, whereas the Samsung in my mind just seemed like completely different. And I've got a lot more thoughts to share about the Samsung, which I'll publish in a video hopefully soon. But again, jumping from iPhone to Android already felt intimidating, and so being able to move to a phone that felt more familiar made it less scary and made the transition a lot easier. So that was a big pro for me. Now let me talk about a few of the bad things that I think I've noticed about this phone, things that I haven't liked as much. And the first thing is I want to talk about the camera. And I won't say that it's a bad camera, I'll just say that it's an okay camera. I found overall, I think that the images weren't as nice as on the Google Pixel 9 Pro. And the biggest issue for me has been hazy edges on some of my images, and also just in the last couple of weeks I've actually noticed a rattling sounds coming from the top of the camera, and I suspect maybe it's related to the cameras. I don't know if you can hear it. Like, it's not great. It's not great. I'm currently trying to see if I can get this fixed or replaced under warranty, and I'm hoping and assuming it's just my phone, like it's not a broader quality issue. But I mean, I've never had a phone that's done that kind of thing before, so that was worth pointing out. And so I wonder if this rattling is related to that hazy edges on some of my photos. Maybe the lens has come loose somehow or something like that. I'm not totally sure. Apart from that, in low light, I found the images weren't as high quality. They were a bit more grainy than my Pixel 9 Pro. But honestly, here's the thing. If you ask me, if you took photos, especially in RAW, on like a Samsung, an iPhone, a Google Pixel, and a Nothing phone, and you edited them all in Lightroom and you put them side by side, I think 99.999% of people would not be able to tell a difference. Like, you just can't tell a difference. All smartphone cameras these days, when it comes to this kind of level, I think really are pretty similar. But to be honest, I feel like a lot of the discussion around which smartphone has the best camera, I think is pretty overhyped. I think they're all really pretty good these days. I think maybe some have the edge over others, but again, unless you're like a professional photographer taking photos for social media or for, you know, work or something like that, most of the photos most people post is just stuff that you're going to post to Instagram on your Instagram stories, or just random stuff like that, you know, nothing that is that important. And that is not to defend a mediocre camera on the Nothing phone at all, but I think I'm just saying more broadly, I personally would probably weigh the importance of camera quality a bit less than some people seem to say that you should. Because again, having said all of that, I got some really amazing photos from this camera, especially once I'd edited them in Lightroom. I was really happy with them. Honestly, putting them side by side again next to some of my Pixel 9 Pro photos, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Okay, so the next thing that I am putting in the bad category, is good and bad, is the Glyph Matrix display like I talked about. I think the good thing about it, it's like an aesthetic piece. It makes the phone look more interesting. It makes it more unique. It stands out. The bad part of it is that it's just not that functional. One of the things I was really curious about at the time when it first came out was what kind of Glyph toys they would develop for the display. And in my experience, most of the ones that have been released just aren't that functional. They're kind of just like novelty things that you might use once and never use again, or at worst, they're just completely useless. And so in practice, I haven't found myself using this really for anything apart from maybe having the time display, which is kind of handy to have when I've got my phone face down, or for notification displays. So that has been kind of handy, and that has been part of what I've liked about this phone, is that it has actually trained me to keep my phone face down, which does in fact mean that I find it less distracting. That has been one of the things I've liked the most about this phone. So even now that I've switched to the Samsung as my daily phone, I found myself putting it face down out of habit, but then I realized, oh, I can't see any notifications, so I have to keep it face up again, which is kind of annoying. I did like the fact that I could keep this face down, but again, the actual Glyph toys were kind of useless. I think that also gets into the extra buttons. So you've got this little, Glyph toy button on the back, which to me, again, is pretty useless. It basically just lets you cycle through the Glyph toys, or, like start functions on particular Glyph toys. But apart from that, that's all it does. Really wish they would let you remap that to something else. It would be so handy for other things. And to me, why can't you just change the Glyph toys using the software UI? That just seems to me in some ways more intuitive and would make more sense. And I feel like that would be more useful. So I think this button is a wasted opportunity in the future. I hope Nothing updates the OS to let you customize this button to different functions. That would be so much more helpful. And the same goes for the essential key on the side. I also put this in the bad category, and almost exclusively for the fact that I can't remap it to something else. It would be so handy if I could remap this to, opening the camera or opening a particular app, or just anything other than taking a screenshot accidentally that goes into the essential spaces that I never open. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've accidentally triggered this button, and it's just annoying. It gets in my way, and I genuinely just don't use the essential spaces app. I tried to use it for the first month or so. I tried to make use of it. It just didn't want to integrate into my workflow. Maybe it has for other people, but for me, it definitely hasn't. So those two things have been a little disappointing. Now, the last thing I want to mention in the bad category has been the battery life. I wouldn't say it's been bad, but it's been kind of average. Like, I usually have to charge it before the end of the day to get me through. I'm relatively heavy on my phone use, which is probably not a good thing. I'm trying to cut back. But yeah, usually by maybe 8 p.m. at night, this might have between 10 and 20% battery. So I'll have to plug it in to get get me through the evening. I'm very curious to compare it to Samsung. This is the S23 Ultra, so it's a little bit older, but yeah, something that they could improve in for sure. Now, overall, having said all of that bad stuff and the good stuff about this phone, what's my general consensus? And to be honest, I think the biggest factor in my overall thoughts is the price of this phone. So currently in Australia for the 512GB model, it's about $1,650 and about $1,500 for the 256GB model. So it is like significantly cheaper than flagship models from Samsung or iPhone. And that to me is basically one of the biggest draw cards to this phone initially. But then from there, I think it's got quite a few things really going for it. Number one is the aesthetics. I'm a huge fan. I think it looks great. I think if you're looking for something more unique and something a bit different to the same old boring iPhones, same old boring Samsungs that come out every year, then this could be the phone for you. And the other thing to factor in is sale prices. I regularly see this on sale at pretty deep discounts, like $200 to $500 off, depending on the sale and the deal. And I think if you can get it on a sale like that, you'll be really happy with this phone. I genuinely have been really happy with it, despite the issues that I've had with it. You know, no phone is perfect, I guess. So I think if you can get it on sale and you like the uniqueness of it and that kind of lightness of the operating system, then I totally recommend it. I say go for it, give it a go. Make sure you keep your warranty in case you have weird rattling issues. Having said that, honestly, I'm leaning towards keeping the S23 Ultra as my daily, at least for now, because I am really enjoying the experience on Samsung. But this is, you know, I mean, it was originally like a $2,000 phone, brand new, compared to a phone which is $1,500. So I hope that helps. That's my thoughts. If you want to see more phone related videos, then make sure you hit the like and subscribe. This year, I'm really trying to make just more videos about stuff that I'm interested in, and phones is one of those things at the moment. So let me know your thoughts. I know a bunch of you guys also bought nothing phones at the same time I got mine. So I'd be really curious to hear if you've had it for 6 months, what have your thoughts been? Have you ran into any of those issues? Have you had any quality issues? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, I will see you guys very soon, hopefully in the next video. Thanks for watching.